Talking lots of important things today. Man City beating Manchester United. Manchester United and Arsenal in a battle for Banter FC crowning. And also Liverpool, is the title dream over? But we must start off with something that's very, very topical. And that is the PFA Team of the Year, which has come out today and has surprised quite a few people because Paul Pogba has made it in there. Which I've got to admit, as a Manchester United fan, absolutely... I wouldn't say I'm embarrassed, but surprised would be the word. So this is voted by the fellow players, which straight away generates a lot of conversation because people will say, well, the players know more than anybody who's the best players over the course of a season. Of course, this is voted for in around December, January time, I think, or it used to be. So it's not even that good in relation to that. But it is voted for by the players and the team. For those who people don't know, realise what the team is. Edison in goal, Alexander-Arnold right back, Van Dijk centre back with Laporte, Robertson left back. Don't think anyone can really argue that based on the form and the brilliant football that Liverpool and City have been playing. You move into the midfield, Bernardo Silva, Fernandinho and Pogba, and then up front you've got Mane, Aguero and Sterling. So no place for Salah, which is quite interesting. No place for Firmino. No place for Hazard, no place for Son, no place for Eriksen. You know, there are other players that I think maybe had a shout of making it in there. The most controversial one will be Paul Pogba. As a Manchester United fan, look, Paul Pogba lovers will throw all sorts of stats at you. He's got loads of goals, he's got loads of assists, he's covered a lot of distance, he makes a lot of passes, he's got lovely hair. There's loads and loads of stats you can throw. But the reality is, as a Manchester United fan, Paul Pogba played well for 2 months this season, and the season runs from August until May. I don't think he's been voted Player of the Month once for Manchester United. Luke Shaw's had it 3 times, which says a lot. But it also says a lot that footballers have voted to put him in there. I personally... would not have put Eden Hazard in there, Evie Burgess. I think that the front three of Mane, Sterling and Aguero is probably about right. And that just shows you the quality. And the player I would have put in there, maybe I thought Salah might have made there. But, you know, has he had as good a season as last season? I still think he's a massively influential player. I think they've got the front three right. I think they've got the defence right. I think, you know, maybe people think Wan-Bissaka at right back, but look, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson have been brilliant fullbacks. Laporte's been a good centre-back. Van Dijk's probably Player of the Year. The goalkeeper, Edison or Alisson, it's got to be one of those. They've gone with Edison, and that's the defining line. It should always be Liverpool or Man City players, which is interesting when you go into the midfield. You don't get any Liverpool player in the midfield. You get Fernandinho, you get Silva, and you get Pogba. Well, for me, that's the mistake because they've gone Bernardo Silva in the midfield 3 and you could have gone David Silva in the midfield 3. So David Silva should be there over Paul Pogba, definitely. And Wijnaldum should be there over Paul Pogba as well. I mean, I've been saying this for a few months now. Wijnaldum's like Ander Herrera for Manchester United. A bit of a shithouse that no other club really likes, but massively influential in their team. A grafter, also good on the ball. So I think Wijnaldum or David Silva should have been there over Paul Pogba. I'm slightly embarrassed that Paul Pogba is in there, but he is in there. He's voted for by his peers. As I said, there's a lot of people on social media today saying, oh, Dave from Stockport doesn't think Pogba should be in there, but everybody who plays in the Premier League has voted for him. I hate that elitist, arrogant, stupid argument. I really do, because you get the same argument, what does an ex-pro pundit know? Well, they used to play football as well. So what are we living in a world where we hang off the word of every single footballer and just dismiss fan opinion? Or are we living in a world where, the right world, where some fans will have better opinions than footballers, some footballers will have better opinions than fans and managers alike? You know, it's all about opinion. I don't think because Paul Pogba's been voted into the Player of the Year team by footballers that we should all just sit there and go, oh yeah, they're right. Do you realise how thick some footballers are? You know, they really are quite thick. And maybe it was a tough decision. And maybe it comes down to a popularity contest because ultimately, David Silva and Wijnaldum should have been in there, but have they got the status of a Paul Pogba? Has Paul Pogba got himself in there because he's had a good season and he's a popular name and he's won a World Cup in the summer? I don't know, but for me, he shouldn't have been in there. He shouldn't be in there, but that's just my personal opinion, and if you think he should be in there, then that's absolutely great. Let's bring it on to the results from last night. We have a situation whereby Manchester City have probably stolen the title from Liverpool. I think Liverpool can get something like 97 points and not win the league. I will never feel sorry for Liverpool because I'm a Manchester United fan and Liverpool fans will never feel sorry for Manchester United. But I must admit, it's very difficult to do this, but trying to take away all the Manchester United dislike for Liverpool because of the rivalry. They haven't won a title for 30 years. They've had the slip up with Stevie G. They've had a couple of close calls in the past, but this is pretty. I mean, the swing from last season as well. I mean, if we were 20 points behind City in second, how far away were Liverpool? So that swing to be going toe to toe with with Manchester City, because they bought well in the summer and they're building something, and they've built a very good team. Any other year, they would be walking away with this title. I've actually felt all season that Liverpool will win the league, and maybe they still will. I mean, you look at the fixtures, I think Man City, they've got to go to Burnley, Brighton, and they've got Leicester at home. I mean, realistically, they've just beaten Spurs and United. That should be it, title done. And they're not in the Champions League, so Man City should be fresh, ready. They've got an amazing squad. The title should be Man City's, and that's going to be very hard for Liverpool, and they've got to hope and pray that the magic of football can spin it into their favour. If it was any other team, I'd want them to win. But because it's Liverpool and the rivalry, I can't want them to win. But they have done, and I can say this with total and utter conviction now, they've done fantastically well. Fair play to Liverpool. But I'm only saying it because I know you're not going to win the league now. But yeah, they've done very, very well. Klopp's built a very, very good team. And you can't really say where did they make mistakes when you get nearly 100 points. The only thing I would say as a United fan is, when they came to United in February and we had all those injuries and we couldn't make any subs in the second half because we'd used 3 in the first half, I thought United were there for the taking, and Klopp seemed to think a point was a good result. Well, those 2 points extra probably would have won the league. Week after, you go to Everton, and again, I think you thought a point was a good result. But you can flip it the other way and say, have Liverpool had some dodgy penalties? Pickford handed them 2 points. Lloris against Spurs handed them 2 points. So 97 points is an amazing total for Liverpool, and any other year they would have won the title, but they're up against a team in Manchester City that, you know, they almost threw this title away. They lost to Palace, they lost to Leicester, they've dropped silly points, and yet they've still come back. The only thing I would say is I'm so grateful to Spurs for not knocking them out of the Champions League, because I think they were going to do an unprecedented quadruple. And they'll do a BTEC treble. I think they'll win the league. They've won the Coca-Cola Cup and they'll win the FA Cup. They've won a domestic treble, and you know the press will build that up. But realistically, a proper treble, and it does need to include the Champions League. James Gavin says Arsenal are just a banter club. Look, do not even get me started on the race for top 4. I don't really even know what to say about the race for top 4. I mean, how are you lot feeling? From a Manchester United point of view, we're an embarrassment. I mean, Banter FC, I'm calling us Pampers FC now. Pampers are a brand of nappy here, and that's what we're like, a team of babies, jelly babies. And we are, you know, Everton demolished us yesterday. I mean, were we ever going to get anything against City? But, well, we should have played better. We should have played better, but City were a good team and they took it. But yet again, Arsenal lose. They lose at home to Palace. They lose to Wolves. So the top 4 race is still very much on. And it's about, I mean, if you're Chelsea, you've got to say the top 4 chance is yours, because they're 3 points clear of Manchester United. They're a point ahead of Arsenal. Arsenal have got to go to Leicester at the weekend. If Arsenal don't win that and Chelsea get a point or a win against United, I think Chelsea have got winnable games, although they've got to go to Leicester. So United, if they beat Chelsea and then they beat Cardiff and Huddersfield, they could get top 4. They need Chelsea's goal difference to swing, and they need Arsenal to lose again. But Arsenal have got Leicester away and Burnley away, and they are struggling a bit, Arsenal, at the moment. And they've got Europa League as of Chelsea. But you know, Arsenal fans are crying to get in the Champions League. Like it's their goal. I said at the start of the season on this channel, I said if Arsenal get into the top 4, Emery deserves Manager of the Year. He's took over a decade of dismal performances under Wenger. He's not been given a lot of money. If he gets top 4, he deserves Manager of the Year. And I think Arsenal fans, as much as they're mocking themselves, they know that if you can get top 4, what a season it's been for you. So United fans, I think, are just embarrassed at this point. We're just embarrassed about how bad we are, and yet we can still get top 4. I spoke to a United fan last night who said there's a big part of me that doesn't want to get top 4 because it's the papering of the cracks, isn't it? It's like Pogba getting into the PFA Team of the Year. There'll be people at United now going, oh yeah, we've got a player in the Team of the Year. We can't be that bad. Well, you are that bad. The truth is you are that bad. And if we get in the Champions League, will it just be all about keeping the players we've got and adding 1 or 2 players? I want to be in the Champions League because I hate the Emmerdale Cup. But actually, if United end up in the Emmerdale Cup, I think De Gea might go. I think Pogba will go. they'll have to get rid of some of the crap. Hopefully Sanchez will go. And maybe then, you invest in players. Look, United need to be looking at players that are hungry, that are not superstars, and they need to build in that way. That's what Manchester United need to do. And hopefully we can do that. But the battle for top four is ridiculous because of people's shitness. I mean, even Chelsea the other day, they should have got a result at home to Burnley and they draw 2-2. So it's really, really interesting. I think the relentless nature of Liverpool and Man City has been unbelievable, how many games they've won in a row. They just don't look like dropping points. And you can track it back, can't you, to the last, it really does go back to those points where Liverpool drew with Everton and United. And they've pretty much won every game since then. But it's very, very interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, my feeling in relation to top four is that I think Man City will win the league now. Liverpool second, Spurs third, and I think it will be Chelsea who get fourth, because I don't actually think United will beat Chelsea at the weekend. I think they'll probably draw it. And I think Arsenal will lose again. So then Arsenal will need to win the Europa League to get in the Champions League. And are they a better team than Chelsea? I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. Can you say happy birthday to my pal Jason, fan of the channel? Happy birthday, Jason. And that's come from Joshua Jenkinson. People are hypocrites. They call Roy sour 2 months ago. Now they say he's a brilliant pundit, says JG Latro. Look, in relation to Manchester United and Roy Keane's punditry, and I'm sure we'll talk about that on the United Stand a little bit later, I don't know what's gone wrong with my lighting. I started off and now there just seems to be this glimmer of light that's found its way into the room that's lighting me up, making me look absolutely ridiculous. And I hate lighting issues, so I'm going to end this video in a minute. But, Monzi says Roy Keane has failed management wherever he's went. Look, mate, I've never managed anybody, Monzi. Have you ever managed anybody? Does that mean your opinion's invalid? Like, there's no rule in the world, whether it's football or anything else, that says you've got to have done all this for your opinion to be valid. Roy Keane, observing that he thinks that Paul Pogba is a negative influence on Manchester United, is quite simply, it's his opinion. If your opinion's something else, why are you getting so angry about it? I did a video on the United Stand last night as my match reaction, and I said it's time for Pogba to go. The replies I got were just ridiculous. I'm fed up of this bloody modern fan who support a player over the club. What I said is, and let me just tell you some of the replies first of all. You've got an agenda against Paul Pogba. Stop hating on Paul Pogba. Why are you having a go at Paul Pogba when Jesse Lingard was worse? And I'm like, do people just click on a YouTube video and write a comment without listening? Because literally, in the first 2 minutes, I say, I like Paul Pogba. He is a world-class player. But it's time for him to go because he clearly wants to go, and Manchester United won't build a team for Paul Pogba. We think we can drop Paul Pogba into our team and he'll just be world class. He needs better players around him. He needs better players than him around him. Look at France. There are one or two players better than him and he thrives on that. Look at Juventus. There was one or two players better than him and he thrives on that. The trouble at United is he's the best player and he's got no players around him who are his equals. So he struggles. So if Pogba goes to Real Madrid, I think you'll see the best of Paul Pogba because there's one or two players better than him. At United, he's going to struggle. So that's why I think, from United's point of view, they're never going to get the players around him to make him the player he is. So it's better for Pogba if he goes, and it's better for Manchester United if he goes. And then you spend that money on players that aren't Paul Pogba, that aren't going to have the pressure, that can maybe just come in and grow their career. And I think that's better for everybody. And I also said in the first 2 minutes, Jesse Lingard is an absolute disgrace. But people don't listen to what's being said. They just hear the word Pogba and they're like, you've got an agenda. And it's bloody embarrassing. Like, it's absolutely embarrassing. I get the fact that you want to suck him off. But really, seriously, it's not... listen to what people have got to say. If people are saying, I can't stand Paul Pogba because of his dancing, this, that and the other, I agree, it's a bit of a baseless argument. But if people are saying it's better for Pogba if he leaves, it's better for United if he leaves, and these are the reasons... It's not actually having an agenda on Paul Pogba. It's acknowledging the fact that he's a good player. He just doesn't suit United. I think if you stuck Paul Pogba in Man City's midfield, he'd be brilliant. I think if you stuck him into a Liverpool midfield, he'd be brilliant. But he's going to be crap in a United team because the team around him's crap. That's why I would get rid of him. And for all these people who say, well, that's stupid getting rid of one of your best players, build the team around him. We've had 3 years to do that, and I don't think anybody at Manchester United gets it, or we haven't got the money to do it. And I think the second option's probably the truth. People aren't stupid enough to realise that we're not getting the best out of Paul Pogba. But are we going to sign a Kante, and are we going to sign an Mbappe or someone like that? No, we're not. So we're never going to get the best out of him. I can't stand Pogba because he's all talk, says Bebe. I think Pogba's doing okay at the moment. I think some of the criticism in relation to his performances are probably a little bit unfair, but he's certainly a player that I think we could be getting far more from if we built the team around him in the right way. And building the team around him isn't making him the focal point. He needs better players. Dark says there's a big Pogba agenda. I think, mate, putting it into capital letters just highlights what a twat you are, really, because there is no Pogba agenda. There's people who don't like Pogba, but there's intelligent people who've spent the last 3 years wondering why he's inconsistent in a United shirt, who actually understand why he's inconsistent in a United shirt. And that's because the setup doesn't suit him. It's as simple as that. He doesn't suit United, and United don't suit him. And it's not about blame game. It's about how do we improve that. Did you watch Roy Keane's comments made last night on Sky? Gary Neville was making unbelievable excuses. Keano was a sharper tool in the shed than him. What will your lineup? What will be your lineup yesterday's match? Says iCrazy Gamer. Well, the yesterday's game, I just think that we went too defensive, to be honest. MC Michael says you don't need hundreds of millions, you just need good recruitment spent correctly, not overspending on average players. And Andrew96, apparently DiMarzio has said a swap deal with Lukaku for Icardi is on. Well, I'll have a look at that because I'll quite happily go live on the United Stand and talk that, so there may well be another video coming in. We need to sell everyone and play the youth, says Let Us Get It. And noisy neighbours have mugged you off again, son, says Bucko1997. I love this. I absolutely love this. You know what I had on Twitter today? I was talking about United, obviously, being a United fan, and I had a Man City fan reply saying, you're just a bag of shit, mate, accept it, you're finished as a football club. And I loved it. I couldn't get typing quick enough because I was like, 10 years ago, you didn't even exist. You were a shit club that was playing League 2 football not too far ago. Man City were a laughingstock in relation. If somebody'd said 12 years ago, Man City will be fighting for titles, people would have thought you were a drunk. Like that, they were nowhere near it. So for a Man City fan to come to United fans and say you're a shit club and you're finished, shut up, it's like ridiculous because that's what you've been for most of your history. Why aren't you like that anymore? Because you're rich and you've spent well, and that's the difference. It's Manchester United have got a lot of money, but they need to spend well. And all these people who think, oh, you're finished no matter what, you could spend $1 billion and you're finished. It's a load of crap. Absolutely, it's a load of crap. If you've got the right person in charge of recruitment and you've got the right coaching and you bring the right players in, United will be back where they need to be within 5 years. But if they do what they've done for the last 6 years, which is the wrong people recruiting players, recruiting the wrong players with the wrong attitudes, then of course United are finished. But I don't buy into this, oh, United are finished forever. It's like any business that's failing. You sack the people that are not performing and you bring in hungry talent in their place. And they might not achieve it straight away, but they will do. Look, if Man City cannot exist for over 100 years and then a rich person buys them a decade ago and turns them into one of the best teams in the world, of course Manchester United can do that themselves. It's about recruitment. Ali Matar says, what if Pogba stays and we manage to get those players we need to elevate his game? Personally, I reckon he should leave and United hit the reset button. They're the two options, mate. Are United going to buy the players to make Pogba the best player in the world? Or are they not going to do that? If they're not, it's better for everyone if he goes. And I don't believe that we can or will recruit the sort of players that we need to bring in. I really, really don't. And look at Liverpool as well. If you want another example of how things can change, Liverpool haven't won a Premier League title, and the Premier League's been going for like 28 years. That's how long it is since Liverpool won a title. They should have won this year's title. They're unlucky to be up against a very good Man City team. But they've not been near a title really for 28 years, and they should have won it this year, and maybe they'll win it next year. But they're very much one of the best teams in the world at the moment, and that just shows you things can change with the right recruitment. They get the right manager in who recruits the right players with the right philosophy and the right attitude, and things change around within 3 years. That's what United need to look at. We have got the money, we have got the fan base, we've got the infrastructure. It's just about appointing the right people, and United will be back. But at the moment, we're a long way from there, a very long way. City were relegated 16 seasons ago. City fans should be aware of that before they mouth off. Well, I suppose part of it's banter, isn't it? But I want to do more of these videos on this channel. I certainly want to fix the frigging lighting out. What the hell is that all about? I'm like a bloody ghost. Anyway, I'm going to get off. I'm going to go and have a read about this Icardi and Lukaku thing, because I might just do a video on the United Stand about that. But please do subscribe to this channel if you're new. Smash a like on the video. Definitely want to integrate a lot of more football stuff, obviously as a United fan, but I do watch a lot of football. I've got a lot of opinions, as I'm sure a lot of you do. So make sure you subscribe. Get your thoughts in below. Should Pogba have been in the PFA team? Is the title now City's? How does that make you feel about Liverpool? Are they unlucky that they should get 97 points and not win a title? And the race for top 4, how do you feel that's going to go? Is it really about who wants to be 6th rather than who wants to be 4th? Thanks, everyone. Always about opinion. I'll speak to you all soon.